It is NFL recap time. Let's go.
Texans versus Bills on Thursday Night Football. This game was all about Houston's elite defense. They were putting on a clinic on Thursday Night Football, sacking Josh Allen 8 times and picking off Josh Allen twice. And 2 of those interceptions was from Callan Bullock.
And let me just add one quick thing. Can we stop putting a lot of disrespect on Josh Allen? And I know he didn't have a good game. And yes, he did get sacked 8 times and threw 2 interceptions. But you try to go up against Houston's defense and see how easy that is.
Plus, we are literally forgetting that he scored 6 touchdowns last week against Tampa. But no, Josh Allen is completely washed and he's horrible. Dolphins fans, I'm referring to you. But still, that Houston defense is really, really good. And I'll give credit where credit is due. Like, this Houston defense is no joke. Callan Bullock had 2 interceptions and a forced fumble. Jalen Reed had a fumble recovery. Danielle Hunter had 2 sacks. And Will Anderson Jr. had 2.5 sacks. Texans fans, congrats on a huge win on Amazon Prime. And Bills Mafia, keep your heads up because this season ain't over yet. Chiefs versus Colts. Indianapolis, you had them. You had them. You were up 20-9 and you blew it in the 4th quarter.
And you won't believe this, but Patrick Mahomes played horrible and still won the game.
And if we're being honest, he wasn't even the best player on the field that day. Harrison Butker was. He did all the scoring for KC outside of that Kareem Hunt touchdown. He scored 5 field goals, one of which was the game-winning field goal in overtime to win 23-20.
Jonathan Taylor, who was having a really good season, literally only averaged 3.6 yards per carry. Disgusting.
As much as I hate Kansas City and how much I hate Indianapolis for choking away this game in the 4th quarter, it must be said that KC took advantage of every opportunity that they got, and they took advantage of it. Titans versus Seahawks. This game was all about Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith-Njigba. They both had a really good game in this 30-24 win against the Titans.
Darnold threw for 244 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, and Jackson Smith-Njigba had 8 receptions for 167 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he is on pace to having the best wide receiver season we have ever seen since Megatron. I would have never expected Jackson Smith-Njigba being the best receiver in the league, but he is proving everybody that he can be the best receiver in the league.
And as for Tennessee, they were kind of quiet in the first half, but they stepped it up in the second half. But it wasn't enough as Seattle won 30-24 on the road. So yeah, on to the next game. Packers versus Vikings. This game was all about Emmanuel Wilson and Brandon McManus, if we're being honest. And let's not forget Green Bay's elite defense. Isaiah McDuffie intercepted J.J. McCarthy, and Evan Williams intercepted J.J. McCarthy, and Dante Wyatt and Micah Parsons combined for 4 sacks. Green Bay held Minnesota to just 6 points, and Emmanuel Wilson ran a train on Minnesota's defense. 28 carries, 107 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Green Bay's defense is really, really good, but their biggest test on Thursday is playing Detroit on Thanksgiving. Can Green Bay continue that dominance? We shall see. Ravens versus Jets. If I can accurately describe this game, it's kind of like the bully beating up the nerd. Like, the Ravens is the bully and the Jets is the nerd. Like, That's how I can describe this game. The Ravens just completely whooped the Jets in a 23-10 win in Baltimore. And the best running back for the Ravens in this game wasn't Lamar Jackson. It was Derrick Henry. 21 carries for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns. And King Henry scoring 2 of those touchdowns in the third quarter. As for the Jets, Tyrone Taylor struggled mightily in this game, and Breece Hall led in rushing and receiving, which is kind of sad. But anyways, congrats to the Ravens, I guess. I mean, it's against the Jets, so I really don't want to applaud them at this point. Lions versus Giants. What a really entertaining game this was. Heading into this game, I thought Detroit was going to beat the ever-living life out of the Giants. But the Giants proved to everybody that they actually can compete. And that's saying a lot. But in this game, Jameis Winston threw a touchdown, which isn't news. But him scoring on a receiving touchdown? Now that's news. But New York was no match for Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions. Goff threw for 279 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and only 1 pick. Jahmyr Gibbs had a really good game. 15 carries for 219 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, one of which was the game-winning touchdown in overtime, which was 69 yards to the house. And Amon-Ra St. Brown had 9 receptions for 179 yards and a touchdown. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And as for the G-men, Jameis Winston had 366 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 1 receiving touchdown. And Wan'Dale Robinson deserves a ton of recognition for this game. 9 receptions for 156 yards and a touchdown. It was a hard-fought battle between New York and Detroit, but in the end, it was Detroit who are crowned victorious in overtime. Bears versus Steelers. The Bears defeated the Mason Rudolph-led Steelers in a 31-28 win. Caleb Williams had a really good game, 239 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. And DJ Moore also had a really good game, 5 receptions for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns. As for Pittsburgh, the only memorable moment that happened in this game for them was when TJ Watt forced a fumble on Caleb Williams in the end zone and scored a touchdown. And not gonna lie, that was really cool. But it doesn't matter because Chicago still won the game, so congrats to the Bears. Bengals versus Patriots. Oh my god, this game. We had multiple chances to win this game, and we couldn't do it. Especially in the first quarter, we looked really good. We were up 10-0, and we benefited from a pick 6 off of Drake May, and we had all the momentum on our side, and then all the wheels came off. Right after that pick 6 from Geno Stone, New England finally woke up, and they scored on a Hunter Henry touchdown, and then Joe Flacco threw a pick 6, and then New England scored a field goal, and then Evan McPherson nailed a 63-yard field goal, which is a franchise record, by the way, so I'll give him a ton of credit for that. In the second half, New England kept on scoring, but Cincinnati made it close, and then we even got the ball down by 6, and then we got into New England territory, and then our last pass attempt was incomplete, sealing the loss against New England. And after this loss against New England, we are 3-8, and our next game is against Baltimore, where they're probably going to score 40 points on us on Thanksgiving. So, yeah. Raiders versus Browns. The Browns defeated the Raiders at Las Vegas in a 24-10 win. Shedeur Sanders' first game as a full-time starter ended in a W, as he threw for 209 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and only 1 pick. And Quinshon Judkins had 16 carries for 47 yards and 2 touchdowns.
So, yeah, on to the next game. Cardinals versus Jaguars. This was actually a really entertaining game between Arizona and Jacksonville. And in the end, it was Jacksonville who were crowned victorious in a 27-24 win at Glendale. Trevor Lawrence had a up and down game. He threw for 256 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, but he did throw 3 interceptions, and he had a forced fumble that was scored for a touchdown. It was a back and forth contest the entire game, and then the Cardinals nailed a game-tying field goal to send the game into overtime. And in overtime, Jacksonville got the ball first, and they couldn't score a touchdown, so they settled for a field goal. Arizona had an opportunity to possibly score a game-winning touchdown, but they couldn't score anything, and Jacksonville won 27-24 in OT. Things just only get worse if you're a Cardinals fan. Cowboys versus Eagles. Philadelphia had a commanding 21-0 lead against Dallas, and it looked like another Eagles win was on the way. And then Dallas did something that nobody saw coming. They scored 24 unanswered points and held Philly to 0 points the entire second half, forcing them to a ton of punts and also a forced fumble that was recovered by Dallas. And then they set up their kicker, Brandon Aubrey, for the game-winning 42-yard field goal to complete one of the greatest comebacks in Dallas Cowboys history in a 24-21 upset win against the Eagles. I still can't believe they choked against the Cowboys. Saints versus Falcons. The Falcons defeated the Saints in a 24-10 win, and it's all thanks to the one and only Kirk Cousins. He threw for 199 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. And outside of that one horrible pick six, Kirk Cousins played a really decent game. And that's all I can say about this game. So, yeah. Next. Rams versus Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football. Let me make this really, really quick. The Rams dominated the Buccaneers the entire first half. Then Baker got hurt. Teddy Bridgewater came in and only completed 8 passes the entire second half. And watching Bridgewater play at this point, it's just pure torment. He should have stayed in retirement where he belongs, but he decided to come back into the league and play god-awful. Matthew Stafford had a really good game, 273 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, and Devontae Adams scoring 2 of those touchdowns, and Colby Perkinson scoring 1 touchdown. A big win for the Rams and a big loss for the Buccaneers, so yeah. And finally, 49ers versus Panthers on Monday Night Football. This was a brutal game to watch. Both Brock Purdy and Bryce Young combined for 5 interceptions, and Purdy having 3 of them. And the best player for the entire game was Christian McCaffrey. He ran a train on his old team. 24 carries for 89 yards and a touchdown. And San Francisco beat Carolina in a 20-9 win. So that is all, folks, and I'm going to bed.